This week on Scotty's Garage, we're introducing a new project car. This is 12s for 2K. You might be wondering why I'm standing outside the Carnage workshop when this is Scotty's Garage, but that's where this car got dropped off to me. And yes, it was given to me. That's right, it cost me nothing. So big shout out to Michael at Albury. I mean, he gave me this car for nothing. And then his mate Daniel, who was picking up a car from Geelong, came past, picked it up from Albury, dropped it here. I just gave him some money for some fuel and some tyres, and yeah, here it sits. An AU Falcon. It does run and drive, but that's about all. So we'll get into that. But it's a good baseline for a 12s for 2K project. Now, for those of you that have watched my 13s for 1300 review from a couple of weeks ago, you would have seen that I brought up the idea of 12s for 2K, and I said, I reckon I could do an AU Falcon and make it run 12s for $2,000. Well, Michael took me up on that and said, well, I'll give you the car, you go do it. And I'm like, how can I refuse that? So here it sits, you know, we have an AU Falcon. For those of you unfamiliar with all this, well, about 13 years ago, I did a project called 13s for $1,300. It was part of a big internet forum thing from performance forums. Me and a whole bunch of other guys decided to start some very budget projects and see if we could run 13s for $1,300. About 7 cars finished, and most of them did actually get into the 13s. We ran 13.2 at 106.9 mile an hour, I think was our best. So pretty good. But I always felt that that car could have gone 12s, and it's an itch I've always wanted to scratch, and well, here we are 13 years later with an AU Falcon, and we're going to see if we can make this thing run 12s for $2,000. So what are we looking at here? Well, for those that are watching from overseas, this is a 2001 AU Falcon. They call them an AU2 because they came in 3 series. So Series 1, which I have one of those as my daily driver, Series 2, which is what this is, and then a Series 3, which was the last of the breed before they went into the BA Falcon with the Barra motor. These do not have a Barra motor. These have a single cam 4-litre straight 6, so inline 6, and they are very reliable. I mean, these things have a reputation for strength and reliability. They weren't super popular for their looks because they look like a kind of a squashed cockroach, but they have very good aerodynamics. I think their aerodynamics were somewhere in the 0.31 area, so really good aerodynamics. But yeah, the interior looks were not very popular. The cars themselves were not regarded as particularly desirable cars, but they did sell a few of them, and there are still a few getting around on Australian roads because they are like cockroaches. You cannot kill these things. So as a 12s for 2K car, this is a very good contender, and there's a whole bunch of guys who are kind of looking to join in. And I'll tell you what, more than a few of them have Falcon 6s to join in with because they're everywhere, and like I said, you can't kill these things. So let's have a look and see what we're dealing with. So let's look under the bonnet. The bonnet is really dented. It looks like it's folded over itself at some point, but I don't care about that. And here we have the Intec AU 4-litre 6, all right? So the Intec was what they called the AU version, but they made these 4-litre overhead cam 6s from 1988 through to basically 2002. And this is the single cam version, obviously. So single cam, 12 valves, so 2 valve per cylinder, where a Barra is obviously twin cam, and 4 valve per cylinder, so 24 valves all up. But yeah, being 2 valves, they're pretty simple. They're, like I said, a single cam, very reliable. I mean, we did a turbo thing on one of these a while back, and we made 350 rear wheel kilowatts and didn't even change the valve springs. So we didn't open the engine at all. So we know these things can handle some boost, handle some power, and you know, they run pretty well when you do. And I think that's where we're going to go with it. But let's talk about that a little later. So this is an SR model. I have no idea what that means. I think it meant it got alloy wheels and power windows in the front, and it's a bit rough around the edges. It's had more hits than Elvis. If you young kids don't know who Elvis was, look him up. He was pretty famous back in the day. So anyway, it'll serve our purposes, but it's got 400,000 kilometers on the clock. It wasn't a taxi, mind you. It's just got a lot of Ks on the clock. So 400,000 kilometers. The engine runs, the transmission shifts into gear, but that's about all I know about them. I know it has left a couple oil marks under the car, so it has a bit of an oil leak under there. What the transmission's like, I don't know. I'm going to service both of them, so fresh oil, fresh filter and fluid in the trans, and basically go through the whole car and make sure it is actually serviceable before we go too far into this deal. But yeah, it'll do the trick, but it needs a good clean up first, especially inside. So let's have a look in there. Let's have a look. Oh. Okay, so inside, it's full of junk. Yep, there is a lot of rubbish. It's missing the passenger seat. I don't care about that. The driver's seat is not bolted in. I don't really care about that either, because I'm going to probably replace it, and I am going to strip out the interior. So we're going to put this thing on a bit of a diet, which is going to amuse some of you people, because, you know, I'm a larger fella. I like my pies and pasta too much. So yeah, car's gonna diet. Scotty, not so much. But yeah, we'll strip out the interior, we'll get rid of all this junk. It's also got a tow bar on it, so we'll take that off because we don't need it on this. And you know what, I might put it on my AU. But yeah, this car was a spare parts car for Michael for his AU, and obviously he's taken a few things that he needs, and we've got what's left over, so I'm fine with that. It doesn't start in park though. Okay, you got to put it in neutral. I'm not sure why. And then gets there eventually. But it does start and run. It does drive. It doesn't do either of those things particularly well. You know, sometimes I think it's got a blocked fuel filter, so I'm going to replace the fuel filter. I'm going to do a trans kit through it, new transmission fluid, new engine oil, do all those things, and of course none of that comes off the budget because it's all consumables. But yeah, she is a nugget, there's no doubt about it, and full of junk, but we'll get rid of all that, we'll strip her out, we'll make it as light as possible, and she'll go pretty well. But we're obviously going to have to do some stuff under the bonnet, because just stripping it out is not going to make this thing run 12s. But at least we have a running and driving car to start off with. So yeah, I guess we should start talking about some rules. So let's talk rules, and I've got some notes here, so I'm going to refer to them, so excuse me. But the idea is 12s for $2,000. And that doesn't mean get a whole bunch of free parts from your mates or from your sponsors. That means you spend $2,000 or less to make your car go 12s. Like, I kind of have an advantage over most people in that I can ring up businesses and they will sometimes throw me stuff. So, you know, I could ring Pulsar Turbo and James will send me a turbo, you know, or Howtech might send me an ECU, or Turbo Smart even might send me stuff. But that's not part of the deal, all right? The deal is that we spend up to $2,000 of our own money to make the car go 12s, all right? So keep that in mind. If you have to buy a car, I didn't, obviously. I got this for free, all right? But if you have to buy a car, don't spend over $2,000 for it. So don't go spend $10,000 on a car and then throw $2,000 at it and say, hey, look at how good I am. Up to $2,000 purchase price, all right, we'll allow that. I've already talked to a few people about this, and we've kind of agreed that that would be a fair deal, you know. You can spend up to $2,000 buying a car and then spend $2,000 on it. I know that makes it $4,000, but semantics. We're spending $2,000 on the car to make it run 12s. Postage or freight isn't included, so that's not part of your budget. So if you order parts from eBay and say it's a $200 turbo and it costs $50 to post to you, say being $250, $200 comes off your budget, the $50 doesn't, right? So same as when I got this car delivered for $100. You know, the $100 doesn't come off my budget, the car is free, all right? So same deal for everyone. So if you're getting parts sent to you, you're not paying for the postage parts out of, well, you're paying for it, but it's not coming off your budget, all right? So that's important. Safety items are not part of your budget, all right? So we don't want anyone to die or get hurt doing this. So stuff like, you know, a race seat. If you want to put a race seat in the car, go for it. We encourage it. Same with a harness, go for it. We encourage it. New tires on the car, we also encourage that, because no one needs to be running, you know, 12s on old crappy tires, because no one wants to see a blowout and you go into a wall because you saved the money on the tires. So happy for you to spend money on tires, even if you're buying drag radials or whatever, it does not come off your budget, okay? So let's be safe and smart about these things. Stuff like consumables like fuel, plugs, filters, all that sort of stuff doesn't come off your budget. That's just making your car run right, okay? I know it's a bit of a, you know, grey area, but fuel shouldn't be part of the budget. If you're running nitrous on your car, nitrous is not costed in the budget. The nitrous you buy to go in the bottle. The kit you have to pay for, and that definitely comes off your budget. But the actual nitrous in the bottle, not part of the budget, okay? And the idea is to finish these things by Australia Day. Now, I'm thinking about talking to Lance at Heathcote and seeing if he'd be open to us just rocking up there one day on a weekend, and part of an official meeting. I have no idea what his plans are for Australia Day weekend, whether there's a meeting or not, and we'll come to that later. But my idea is Australia Day weekend, let's get the cars together at a track, probably Heathcote, and run them up against each other. It'd be fun. Of course, if you can't make it to Heathcote, if you're in Brisbane or WA or whatever, maybe you go to the track on that day and run it yourself, and if there's other people, you run with them. And then you send us the times and some video or photos and show us how you did. So I think Australia Day weekend is the way to do it. So them's the rules. See what you think of them. If you have anything to add, send us a comment or a message and we'll see how we go. But this is supposed to be a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously. Let's have fun. Let's run 12s for $2,000. And here she is at Scotty's garage. I had the opportunity to bring it out, so I thought I need to get it here so I can get things started. So you know the plan, you know the story. 12s for 2K. That's what we're going to do. I should mention that they don't need to be registered, all right? You don't need to drive it to the track for $2,000 and run 12s. Can be unregistered. That's what we'll be doing. We'll be towing this out to the track. So if you think you'd like to get involved, please do. I'm happy to see them, happy to hear about them. And yeah, if you think you've got what it takes to beat me at the track, then bring it out to Heathcote on the Australia Day weekend. Well, I've still got to talk to Lance about that, but I will let you guys know if that's going to happen. We've got plenty of time to sort that out, but yeah, let's get them built before Australia Day. 12s for 2K, you know the deal, $2,000 and run 12 second quarters. So let's get this started.